Have you ever tried to join a group of people and you just weren't quite sure how to do it and you didn't know the rules or the etiquette and it was kind of awkward? Well, FamilySearch is a group that everyone is welcome and invited to join. But there are a few things that you should know before you hop right in. Hi, Mari Stotts-Pratt here. Thanks for coming. Today I want to talk to you about my top 5 tips for etiquette on FamilySearch. Now, FamilySearch is a huge community. There are thousands of people who are on FamilySearch every day who are anxiously engaging in family history work and adding to their family tree and just building to this great body of knowledge. FamilySearch Family Tree is a wiki, which means that anyone can add pretty much anything. So my number 1 tip is remember that when you're on FamilySearch, you're working with people. Some of these people are deceased, and they're the ones that we are adding to our family tree, that we're looking for sources and trying to attach to these people to reconstruct their lives. But some of the people that we work with on FamilySearch are very much living. And these are the people who we share ancestors with, who often are adding things of their own to family tree as well. And this can be a fantastic way to build our body of knowledge. I've got relatives who have added pictures and stories, things that I wouldn't have had otherwise if I was just building my family tree on my own. So those contributions are enormous and they're significant and they're exciting. Sometimes though, we forget that we're working with people and we engage in what I call ancestor battles. And what this is when you add information about an ancestor. It could be years worth of information. Just to come back the next day and see that someone has changed it all to be completely different. So you, in turn, then change it back, only to discover the next day it all changed again. You don't need to engage in these ancestor battles. The best way to remedy this is to remember that there's an actual person making these changes, and they might have a reason, or they might be new to FamilySearch and just be a little confused, or they might be on FamilySearch for a really long time and still be confused. Those things all happen. Utilize the messaging feature that FamilySearch has available. Sometimes you can click on a person's name and it will give you their email address, and that's a great way to contact. But you can message anyone, whether they share an email address on FamilySearch or not. So if you are finding that you're engaging in these battles or just have a question, you can message people and ask that question. In turn, make sure that you are checking your messages because maybe someone's messaged you with a question also. So remember that you're dealing with people and to be considerate and to communicate so that you can work together to build FamilySearch. My second tip is do not kill off the living. What I mean by this is if you are adding people into FamilySearch and you come across someone and you're not sure if they're alive or if they're deceased, add that they are alive. I recently found out that my grandmother was entered into FamilySearch by someone who entered her as deceased. And she is very much alive. And she's not even really all that old. So remember that just because someone is older does not mean that they are deceased. If you find someone who has been born in the last 106 years, enter them as living until you find death information that confirms that they actually are deceased. And this is just a good rule of thumb so that you are not killing off people's grandmothers. Tip number 3 is if you add a fact, make sure that you also add a source. We need to be proving that our facts, our information, is not just coming out of nowhere, that we've just guessed it or hoped it was the answer and that's what we put. Everything that you enter should be backed up by a source. So So a source for a death date, for example, could be a death certificate, or maybe you found a date on a headstone. Remember that other people on FamilySearch can't read your mind, and you might know why you know the information, but it's not explaining it to everyone unless you write it down. So if it's your family Bible, it would be great if you made a copy of the page and you posted it as a photo for that ancestor, and that you also write in the description for that fact that the information came from a family Bible. Those are perfectly acceptable, and it gives other people information who are searching for those facts as well. Tip number 4 is don't merge individuals just because they have the same name. You might go on FamilySearch and find a person who has the same name as your ancestor and get really excited and think, this is it, this is my person. Well, it's not enough just to look at the name. You also need to be looking at where did they live? What time period did they live? Who were their family members? If you're looking at all of these different pieces of information, they can help you determine if that person who has the same name as your ancestor actually is your ancestor, or if there's someone completely different. So don't merge just on the basis that someone has the same name. And the same goes for the hints in the sidebar. Just because you get a hint that says, this might be your ancestor in this record because they have the same name, don't automatically attach it without looking at all of the rest of the information to see if it really makes sense for your ancestor. Tip number 5 is, if you make a change, give a reason. If you find a record that shows that your ancestor was actually married in April of 1855 instead of May of 1853, make sure that you are giving a reason if you make the change. And that reason should be based on a source of information that you find. So it just helps explain to everyone else what's going on and why changes are being made if you are giving a reason for that change. It's part of communicating and part of being a good citizen of the FamilySearch community when you are explaining to the group the changes that you're making. So remember, FamilySearch is a great place to find information for your ancestor, and it's a great way to build a community and a network of other people who share your ancestry. I hope that you have great experiences on FamilySearch and that these are just a few etiquette tips to help you feel confident as you get started or as you proceed on FamilySearch with your research and with your interactions. Please share, subscribe, like this video, share it with anyone that is really into family history or might just be getting started so that they can feel comfortable as they begin their research on FamilySearch. And comment below some of the tips that maybe you think I missed. What would you want people to know as they are getting started on FamilySearch? And I can't wait to hear what you have to say, and happy discovering.